Our next lesson in the Civil War is called Life of the Slave. But first, let's review a little bit. Okay, is this a contributing cause of the Civil War? Slavery in the North. Is that a contributing cause of the Civil War? Yes, it was. What about differences in lifestyle in the North and South? Is that a contributing cause of the Civil War? Differences in lifestyle in the North and the South. Yes, it was. What about Western expansion of the country? No. What about the federal government's increasing power over the states? Yes, it was. So what was the main cause of the Civil War? The root causes of the Civil War began in the very early history of the United States and developed over time. I'm going to say a definition. I want you to tell me which vocabulary word I'm talking about. A crop grown to be sold at market rather than used for livestock feed or personal use. Cash crop. A war between groups or regions within the same country. Civil War. A large farm on which a primary cash crop is grown, usually by laborers who live on the property. A plantation. Pertaining to cloth, fabric. Textile. A tax on imported goods. A tariff. The conflict between regions that finally became the Civil War began to come to a head during what year? Okay, during the 1850s. Who is credited with the invention of the cotton gin? Eli Whitney. What one event led to a rapid increase in the production of cotton in the South? The invention of the cotton gin. Why was slave labor not as important to the North as it was to the South? The climate did not lend itself to making slave labor possible. They couldn't grow the crops in the North that they could in the South. Why were there few transportation innovations in the South compared to the North? Okay, because the rivers provided all the transportation needs of the plantation and farm owners. True or false? The South believed the federal government needed to provide more control over its citizens. Okay, false. Why was slavery not as important in the North as it was in the South? Because the North had more immigrant labor available, and there were lower profits in the South if they got immigrants to do their work than if they got slaves. They didn't have to pay slaves as much. What one event led to a rapid increase in the number of slaves in the South? The invention of the cotton gin. I'm going to tell you a characteristic. I want you to tell me if it's a characteristic of the North or the South. Many immigrants. Okay, that would be the North. Small farms. Also the North. Few railroads. The South. Cultural melting pot. The North. Slavery. The South. Industry. The North. Several cities over 100,000 in population. The North. Many immigrants. The North. Large plantations. The South. Many railroads. The North. Cultural melting pot. The North. Slavery. The South. Predominantly Catholic. The South. The South. Okay, what kind of society was the North? An industrial society. What type of society was the South? An agrarian society. True or false? Most Europeans came to the South to work on plantations. Most European immigrants came to the South to work on plantations. True or false? False. What invention or innovation helped to make cities, factories, and railroads spring up in the North? Cheaper steel. Okay, I'm going to say a definition. I want you to tell me which vocabulary word I'm talking about. A tropical plant used as a source of blue dye. Indigo. A society based around agriculture rather than industry. Agrarian. Characteristics of a population like size, density, and distribution. Demographics. People of the highest society class or nobility. Aristocracy. Okay, if you had problems on any of that, I want you to go back and review this video again until you know it before you do your next lesson.